servant of the Ahlul Bayt will be grateful to be here and give his views. I think from a young age, and I think this is probably with the majority of reciters who you've had, from a young age, we were always around recitations, whether it was lectures, whether it was Quran, Qasida, Noha, Latmiya, etc. It was always something going on in the house, especially because it runs in the family. Both my grandmothers were reciters of majalis as well as of Latmiya, etc. And my parents as well, slightly less than my grandparents. So I think my grandparents had a much more of an influence. And then my siblings. So I have 3 older siblings, all of whom recite. And so growing up around them was always recitation, basically, you know, whether it was Quran, Qasida, whatever, it's always ringing, it's always in the house. And when you grow up with that, alhamdulillah, you develop a passion for it. And it's then that passion which then will drive you non-stop, towards Ahlul Bayt.
I can definitely relate, because similar to you, my family are also a family of reciters, alhamdulillah. So ranging from my mother to my father to even to my sisters as well, and I get it. When from a young age, it's almost like it's drummed into you. It's either the TV is on, or back in the day it was a cassette in the car when we're going to the mosque, for example, or then it kind of developed into a CD. And so it's a natural path that you take, and it's good that you're able to develop those skills with your siblings. So how is it like? Are you sort of like the fourth in line from the well, not for that. Are you the fourth when it comes to the other siblings? How was that recitation relationship? Because I say that because within my family, there's sometimes a bit of like like comparing, or for example, like you did well and you didn't do well here, and so there's a bit of a review process between us. How is it like within your household?
Yeah, so I am the youngest of the 4. So of course, being the youngest, pampered a lot. But at the same time, many a times, for example, in mosque, maybe my brother and me would recite together when I was younger. Or whenever I had to recite something, then my sister would actually sit down and listen to me and make sure that I'm pronouncing words correctly, etc. And alhamdulillah, there's never been an issue of like competition in that sense, but always well done, you know, Karen, going, this is where maybe you messed up, or you went too high here, etc. But you know, it's great to have people who are close to you who can always give you feedback. And the reason why it's so sincere is because they're reciters, so they know when something doesn't sound right. And the general crowd may not realize it, but being a reciter, you can pinpoint those few things which go wrong and you know, and help yourself.
So how much of an impact have they had in terms of your development then?
Well, to be honest, if they weren't around, I don't think I would be reciting. And that's the truth. I think because I was in that atmosphere and always being pushed by them to recite. Like my mother always said that if someone asks you to recite, never say no, because Allah has given you that opportunity and that you that blessing. And if you say no, it's going to go to someone else when your name was supposed to be written on it. So we were always pushed. Whenever you've been asked to recite, go for it.
And so it's amazing to see that, you know, there is that support system. How does that then reflect on the community itself? Do they also give you that support or a platform for you to be able to recite?
Yeah. So I'm local to Stanmore. So my local community is Stanmore Hujjat. And there's many reciters there. We are just one of, you know, hundreds. But they have a really good system where everyone is, you know, given a chance to recite, etc. Nowadays, they even have an Azadari drive, it's called, to help these youth who want to recite. Maybe they don't come from a background that they can really rely on their parents or siblings, because no one recites, but they have a passion. They want to recite. They want to serve the Ahlul Bayt in a way. And so they have classes where they come, they bring, you know, whichever qasida or latmiya they've written, and nasheed, and then, or someone who's already there and they've taken the words, and then they come and they practice with someone who's probably much more better or, you know, focused.
That's fantastic. How long has that been in operation?
Oh, it's been at least 7-8 years, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Do we have a product of this school?
You do.
I can listen to?
Yes. One of the youngsters, his name is Yusuf Okera. Okera. Yeah, he's very young. He must be in his teens, 16, 17. But if you hear him, it's phenomenal. And I remember when he was a little kid, and his father's a reciter, but being taught by experts in the community is much more different, of course. And mashallah, and you hear him now, it brings a smile to your face knowing that he was so young, and now, mashallah, where he's reached.
That's brilliant. And so a lot of the people that do attend that, do they not have any recitation background in terms of their family as well?
Majority don't. Some do, but majority don't. And of course, it's nice when you're around people who have the same passion as you. So on a Thursday night for an hour, they will sit in small groups with a teacher, and then they'll go through, things like this. Similarly, like when it comes to Rajab, Sha'ban, Shahr Ramadan, we have a dua drive. So similar thing, whoever wants to recite Dua Joshan, whoever wants to recite Dua Iftitah, etc., then, we'll have the similar areas and one teacher and a few kids around practicing Makharij, Tajweed, etc.
Have you taken up any of the lessons from a teacher perspective? Or you probably run it, don't you?
I've taken a few lessons. Yes, I'm a teacher when it comes to the Dua drive. A little less on the Azadari drive. I used to, but not anymore. It's more on the Dua side and the Quran side.
Could you share with us just one or two lessons from the syllabus, as in of the Dua drive?
Yeah. So basically, of course, first things first is the Makharij, and the Makharij of any reciter must be perfect. And alhamdulillah, they've started a new initiative called Darul Quran at Stanmore. So, we have experts coming in. We have, for example, Sayyid Jalal Masumi and people like this, known reciters in the community, not just in the Khoja community, but generally, experts who would come and they would train on tajweed, pronunciation, etc., the rules of recitation. And you see the product. That's the beauty. You actually see the community progressing, and not the older generation, because they never had that opportunity. But today we have that opportunity, and alhamdulillah, it's nice to see these youth taking that initiative and seeing them excel.
Okay, and so Makharij is one of the lessons that's taught. Anything else that you could share within those lessons? So
Makharij, Tajweed, and then of course tune. Whether it's maqamat in terms of like the styles of Mustafa Ismail, Abdul Basit, etc., or if it's tartil, or if it's just fluency, depending on your level.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And that happens, the dua drive, is that only before Ramadan does that happen, or is it during Ramadan or during the year?
So that's mainly during Rajab, Sha'ban, and Shahr Ramadan. Those three.
All right, fantastic. That's brilliant. And so you also obviously take part in those lessons. So you're very much so just a bit of a summary. You're very much involved in the recitation world, and you, from a family perspective, also from the community itself, the one that you associate with or the one that you visit on a regular basis. And there's the Azadari drive, and then there's the Dua drive, and there's also the Darul Quran, who is focusing more on the Quranic aspect of it, which is fantastic, and it really does provide that platform for youth to come forward. And you actually hit the nail on the head in terms of those who have a passion for recitation. They have then the ability to be able to express themselves, because not a lot of other communities do have that possibility, which is great news. So that's really encouraging, actually. Okay, so from a more personal perspective now, looking at your life moving forward. So we spoke about this very briefly off air. So how much more, or in terms of the recitations, is it just the Stanmore community that you recite to, or is there anything else outside of the Stanmore community that you also participate in?
So mainly it is the Stanmore community, being obviously growing up there, etc., serving them in the community, but also other centers, not just Khoja, but sometimes Iraqi centers, Iranian centers, Pakistani centers. Wherever there's a need and whenever we get called, we're ready to serve. But majority of the time, because we've grown up in Stanmore, our first duty is to ensure that there is recitation and reciters in Stanmore.
Okay, so I want to focus a bit in terms of the discussion. Just focus a bit about the invitations that you receive for maybe the Iraqi centers or the non-Urdu speaking, because I take it that when it comes to the main language that's used in Stanmore is Urdu, maybe, or have I got it wrong?
Well, when it comes to recitations, yeah.
Is Urdu, right? So I want to focus a bit outside of the Urdu world, because maybe that's an area where you would have to. It's a bit out of your comfort zone in the sense that maybe you have to recite in English, or is it Arabic, or how does it work?
So it's actually a mix.
Okay.
And English, of course, since we were younger, we used to recite. Since we were very young, we used to recite English. But of course, the dominant channel is Urdu. And now slowly, English is progressing. And I think we spoke before once as well about Voices of Passion.
Yeah.
A group that was started many years ago because there was such a lack in generally, not in just in the Khoja world, but generally all across the Shia globe, there was a lack of English recitations. I think, of course, you yourself were one of the pioneers of that, and the Thawab Jariyah that you get, mashallah, is great. But I think it was important to get people into that. And the beauty is, if I can just elaborate, is that some of the people that have responded to us and said how grateful they are because they live in remote parts of maybe America, in very small communities, Africa, etc. And some of them even said that we use your masaib that you've written in the know-how, we use it as tariq lectures and lessons for the kids. So it really brings the importance of what we're doing in English and how it's impacting globally.
I want to touch more upon the importance of English. Again, because you're so entrenched within the Khoja way, and myself as well, I'm entrenched in the Iraqi style of recitation. And when I did experiment with English, it almost felt like I'm not reciting for the Iraqi crowd, because there's a bit of a barrier. And so the Iraqi style, to the outside community, there seems to be they're a bit more receptive than the Iraqis. I think only because the melody that's used is Iraqi or Iraqi style. And because it's Iraqi style, the Iraqis who are predominantly accustomed with the Arabic language, when they hear English, it's a bit of a barrier. They're like, well, this doesn't sound right. But to anyone outside of the Iraqi world, it doesn't sound half bad, doesn't sound too weird for them. So from your perspective, looking at the Khoja way and then implementing English with that particular style, how did you feel when it comes to the communities outside of Stanmore, for example? How did you feel, how receptive they were to that particular style of delivery?
So within Stanmore, firstly, of course, being Urdu, if we used Urdu tunes, then it would ring a bell to them. But, sometimes it's hard to fit words into specific tunes, etc. And I'm sure you know how that feels. So, you have to try and edit words and make it fit and do this to the tune, etc. In the outside of the Khojas, at least, I think they really appreciated it. And I think it's probably similar to what you're feeling. That for them, obviously, they haven't heard so much Urdu, etc. So for them, it's a tune, it's a beat, the words go, the words are touching, and, that's all that they wanted. And they were very receptive to that.
Okay. And so how do you feel like English is going to progress over the next couple of years? Is it going to be in their specific communities, or do you think there's going to be a style of delivery that can bridge all of those communities together?
Personally, I think, especially living in London, I feel like we are probably the last generation who will be able to speak our mother tongues fluently, at least. And you see so much more introduction of English now that it's very likely, in my opinion, that very soon English will be the main language used across lectures, across Latmiya and Nasheed, everything. Which is not an issue. Of course, it's very good to have our mother tongue, and we should really try and keep it. But when it comes to spreading the message of Islam, we want to ensure that it gets to the majority of people, the maximum amount of people. And if that has to be done in English, so be it. And I think that's how it's going. For example, in Stanmore, of course, we have the main hall, which is mainly Urdu or Gujarati sometimes, and then we have the ELC, the English Listening Center. And that's either held on the first floor of the masjid or it's held outside in a big tent. And there we ensure that there is recitation in English, because majority of the people who would come to the English Listening Center is because they don't understand anything else. And as a community, as Khuddam of the Ahlul Bayt, we must ensure that we serve for the right reasons. And if that is what is needed, then that is what is needed. That's what we need to give.
Okay. And it's I guess you're right in saying that English, our mother tongue is slowly going to be less of a priority. And in terms of the future, what would you think in terms of the delivery? Are we going to stick to what we have now, or are we going to have a specific form or a way of latmiyat or a way of nasheeds that maybe the next generation or two generations down, it would be something new for them, but also relevant for them?
That's a fantastic point, and I think it will be. I personally feel maybe more for other centers more than our own. For the Khojas, we're very culturally centered, and so certain things stay within us, not for a bad reason, it's for good things as well, but they stay on for longer within us. It takes us longer for us to change. For example, we have the matam, which is called Saf matam, where we go around in a circle. I'm sure you remember from Arba'in, etc.
Yeah.
And we do latam like that. That's a very cultural thing that we brought from Zanzibar when we used to be there before we moved over. So things like that will take a while to change, etc. But slowly and steady, I think you're right that there will be a different form of azadari, which will slowly come of aza of imam, and it will adapt to that generation in time very soon.
How do you think? What form do you think it's going to take?
I don't know. All I know is that it will be beautiful. Because, it's going to be very interesting to see, and I still believe that there will still be that element of culture within that new form. Whichever, if it's Iraq, if it's Iranian, if it's Khoja, whatever, there'll still be that element of our ancestors.
No, I think what will connect us to the culture is the fact that Imam Hussein's message is eternal, and the way people mourn the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam has always been the same, whether they're crying or whether they're beating their chest. So whichever form we want to take out of that and be able to change it up a bit, they're still going to be deep rooted within the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So I think in the next couple of generations, definitely, you're right. It's going to be interesting to see how things are going to develop over the next couple of years, months, actually, a couple of years, to see how the next generation or the generation after are going to be able to express themselves when it comes to the recitations of the Ahlul Bayt. Okay, so let's talk about you now, and in terms of the invitation that you received, and a scenario I want to build is, you received an invitation from, let's just say, an Iraqi center, okay? They've asked you, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Muhammad, we'd like you to grace us with your presence on a given event at a given time. What's your thought process? What's the immediate thought that you have that's going through your mind?
Check the diary. So if that did happen, of course, I would inquire about what the situation is. Is it wilada? Is it wafat, shahada, etc. What language they would want me to recite in, and then from there, if I'm available, then inshallah I would take it. But then it would require a lot more preparation, because if it's, for example, if it's in English, then I'd most likely have to write something myself within the next week or whenever it is. And if it's in Arabic, then I would have to look for something, practice it. If it's in a dialect, if it's in Fusha, much more easier for me, and I prefer it. But of course,
have you recited Iraqi dialect before?
I have a little bit, yeah.
Really? Okay, I want to hear that soon. Okay, yeah. So, right.
But
so
prefer, of course, Fusha, and then that's it. Then make our way there, and deliver as much as we can.
So what's the process for preparation? Because when you say English and you write, how long does that typically take you? What would inspire you, I guess, to write in a certain way? What ideas come to your mind? How do you develop those ideas?
I think sometimes it comes down to what you're listening to recently. What thoughts are going through your head when you're listening to the different latmiya, for example, if it's a wafat, and then the tune as well. Of course, let's say, for example, if I'm going to an Iraqi center, the beat is much slower compared to what we're used to. So maybe just thinking of tunes in terms of listening to some of Basim's classics, for example, Muhammad Hujarat, things like this, catching on to one of the tunes and then trying to adapt to that. And then in terms of the writing it, sometimes it takes hours, sometimes it's like ilham. It just, you know, I'm sure you know, one of my nasheed, I remember I was like reciting the Arabic one in the shower, and just then some words of English came, and I decided, oh, you know what, I can write this, and it just
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. And I can definitely relate to certain moments of ilham. They're the best feelings in the world, and they're usually game changers as well, which is
That's right.
which is the good news. Okay, so you're about to go to the event. Is there any preparation that you do from a voice perspective?
I think it would normally be just to keep away from things like fizzy drinks, which I don't drink anyway, but cold drinks, etc., oily foods, and just making sure that just maybe an hour before that, I'm just drinking a lot of water. And then you'd always have your own mini, practice session in the car, making sure you can hit the high notes, low notes, whatnot, clearing your throat non-stop. And then sometimes, during Muharram, normally after the majlis at night, every night there's majlis at someone's house.
Mm-hmm.
So every night we're reciting in the masjid, and then we're reciting at someone else's house. So by the fifth, sixth night, sometimes you're gone. And that's when, you just pull out these hundreds and thousands of lozenges and vocals, and, it messes you up, but you need it for that 30 minutes or, however long. And I'm sure if you remember in Arba'in, I think we're similar as well, where we've just stocked up on different types of lozenges, etc., just to get you through those few minutes. And nothing beats honey and water, right?
100%. Try ginger as well.
And ginger.
Yeah, and ginger. I wanted to find out, because you touched upon actually reciting the Iraqi style. It's a bit slower than obviously the Urdu style. What are your feelings when you're up on stage and you're actually reciting the Iraqi style of lamentation?
I think ensuring that you're, this might sound cliche, but you're ensuring your sincerity is there. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes if you're reciting at a center that you're not so familiar with, sometimes you can be preoccupied by thinking, is it going well? Is the beat okay? Is my voice okay? Are they receptive, etc.? When really, if your intention is clean, then you need to go there and you need to deliver for Allah, and leave the rest to Him, kind of thing. And I remember once there was we were reciting in Stanmore, and we recite as a group sometimes. I don't know if you know Khojad in Pakistani, they recite as a group to cause more emotion and a vibe. So we were about to start, and one of the brothers next to me, he was going to start. So everyone went quiet, everyone's doing latam, and it's just silent. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, start. And he was quiet, and all of a sudden he started. Anyway, the whole thing finished, we recited, it went well. Later on, we were leaving the masjid, and I met him. I said, Qasim, what happened? Did you ever, did your mind freeze or what? And he told me, at that moment, you need to make sure that there's no other intention apart from God in your heart.
Yeah.
And that's why I had to make sure that before I started, I was telling Allah, this is just for you. And that really hit me. I felt like that's such a pure intention. Even if it was to go terribly wrong and they were going to throw us out of the mosque, at least you know that the purity of that intention. And since he told me that, I've tried to implement that every time I recite, to ensure before I go up, I've told Allah, whatever happens, this is for you, and you've given me this opportunity, I will try and deliver.
Fantastic. That's. I think there was something that one of the scholars was saying that that he does on a regular basis, specifically when he's called up to speak. He goes, as I'm walking towards the pulpit, that is when I renew my intention. My intention could be absolutely crystal clear for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of the Ahlul Bayt, and inshallah they are the ones that are going to help me throughout this delivery. But he goes, my intention I could have made a few weeks back when they asked me to do the event, but that could have changed within a day, 2 or 3, right? And he says, as I'm walking towards the pulpit, that's when I renew my intention. So it's absolutely clear just before I get on, rather than clear a couple of weeks ago. So it's definitely something that I can relate with, which is great. We're going to go to a very quick break, Mohammed, and then after that we'll delve into a bit more. I really want to find out a bit more about your style of delivery. Khoja and style of delivery Iraqi. We'll talk more about that.
Sure.
Got a couple of questions regarding that, and I also would love to hear your voice in both the Urdu and the Arabic. And the Arabic, I'll give to your choice. It could be Fusha or it could be dialect. Absolutely up to you. But yeah, inshallah, we'll delve into some poetry later. But for the viewers, you are watching Light Our Nights with myself and Brother Mohamed Datoo, a reciter within the Khoja world, an expert and entrenched within the Khoja way of recitation. So we're absolutely privileged to have him on the show. So you are watching Light Our Nights. We're going to go for a very, very small break. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
3, 2, 1.
Bismillah ar-Rahman
2 seconds,
ar-Rahim.
Brother Mohamed, yeah?
During this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan, we at Imam Hussein Development and Relief Foundation are looking to provide food baskets for 1,000 families living in poverty in and around the blessed city of Karbala. Each food basket contains a variety of essential food supplies that is sufficient to feed roughly a family of 4 for just about 10 days. By donating £20 per food basket, you can play a role in ensuring that nobody living in the city of Imam al-Hussein ever misses an iftar due to poverty. Contribute today and play a part through our website at www.ihdrf.org, or follow us for updates on this campaign for Shahr Ramadan through our social media. May our two masters, Imam al-Hussein and al-Abbas, reward each and every one of you abundantly during this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan as you work to elevate poverty from the great city of Karbala.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV 3. You are watching Light Our Nights with myself, and we have a special guest today, Brother Mohamed Datoo. We are talking recitations, specifically the difference between Khoja and Iraqi and English, and really delving into the nitty-gritty details of the importance of the English language within recitation, and how we feel like this is going to change in the next couple of years, not even just years, actually generations to come. So Haji Mohammed, we talked a lot about your preparation when you are invited to an Iraqi center to recite. Could you just shed some light on, you're now, the stage is set and you're now on the actual pulpit itself, or on the stage, you have the mic in hand and you're about to deliver the recitation. What exactly is the process for you? What happens at your end?
Okay, so let's say I'm standing on the pulpit or wherever. Before I start, of course, like we spoke about intention, it's played a big part in my life, recitation life, at least since this incident happened. So I'll ensure that, and then would start the recitation. I think, of course, being in an Iraqi community, I would just be extra cautious about the way things are going, the laqmiya, the beat, you know, the Khoja beat is so much more faster that it's easy to catch on and recite to, whereby the Iraqi beat is much more different, and not growing up with that beat, makes a big difference. So a lot of preparation beforehand would have gone into me sitting down at my desk, reciting and just practicing, making sure that the beats are on.
I think it's the double hand, isn't it?
That's right.
The double hand to get, yeah. That's what I've been accustomed to try and teach people to do it. It's not the single, but if you just wait for a double hand movement, and then you'll get it right. Yeah, then you'll get it right. Okay, fantastic. And so, as I mentioned before the break, I did want to talk a bit more about the different styles of delivery, because a lot of people are saying that English, and you being expert also within maqamat and stuff, English as a language sometimes just does not fit with Arabic melodies, and it's also interesting to know from your perspective the Khawaja style of delivery, Urdu shall we say, how does the maqamat work in that world? Because I know from the Eastern world, it's the 7 maqamat that we know, or 7 + 1, depending on what school. But from your perspective in the Urdu world, how does it work? What's the process, and what's the maqamat like?
So they actually have something similar as well. Different names, of course, things like Darbari, etc. Which once you catch the tune, just like Nahwan or Bayat, etc., you would hear that in any recitation of Urdu. You'd shift out. However, we don't, maybe because we're not so entrenched in the Pakistani culture and in the recitation, we mimic more than, understanding the lahan and the maqamat. So we would take that tune and then we would fit that into our words that would try in English, etc. If it wouldn't work, then we change the tune.
So, could you give me an example of some of the maqamat? Maybe one that, for example, if we start with, I think one of the most famous ones in Urdu is Imam Hussein, one that everyone recites. Please repeat.
Mulla Hakimam?
Yes. Yeah. Mulla Hakimam. What maqam would that fall under?
I don't know the names of these maqamat.
All right.
But okay. I know a little bit about them or the tune, but I don't know the name of the actual maqam.
Okay, fine. But they have a separate, like compartments, so to speak, when it comes to maqamat.
That's right. Similar to Arabic, they have their own types of tunes.
All right, fantastic. Okay, cool. So we're talking essentially from your perspective. What are the tips that you've developed over the last couple of years when you're on the minbar and maybe things aren't going as maybe well as you think they are? What sort of tips do you have from a practical sense, like either the mic or the people or the audience or the poem? What tips could you share with us that maybe could help you when it comes to maybe things are going well or things are not going well, depending?
Yeah. I think from my own experience, one thing is pitch, and that's a big thing for me. So personally, I like to recite at much more of a higher pitch than many of the others who recite with. That in the middle of a verse explaining something or telling them, where are your voices? They're not reaching me. How are they going to reach Najaf, for example? Things like that.
Okay. All right, cool. And so look, you finished now the program, and you finished the event. In terms of the review process, what's the criteria that makes you think, Alhamdulillah, this was a successful recitation for me?
I think that would come down to things like me personally knowing what my potential is or capability, and feeling if I have hit that, if I've hit that standard. And often, as a reciter, you can tell the smallest things when they don't go well, or when your tune slightly went off, or you ran out of breath, etc. Things like this. So personally, when I remember, half the time I forget, but when I remember to record, then I'll try and record on my phone and later play back and try and listen to it. If I'm in the mosque, then there's, majority of them they're all amazing reciters, but the majority of them are older than me, and I'm more than happy to go to them and for them to give me feedback. The good thing is about these brothers is they'll even come to you and tell you, brilliant, next time, just edit this or change this, or your pronunciation here wasn't good. And that's lovely, the fact that they're ready to look out for you and give you that feedback in a positive way.
Fantastic. Okay, so I want to put all of this theory into action, Hajj Mohamed. So please, could you share with us some lines of poetry? Inshallah.
Being, of course, Sha'ban and the birth of our holy Imam al-Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farij al-Sharif, a small qasida in honor of Imam. Inshallah. عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله وين عنا بيبتعد يمتلد يارك ترد والله ملينا البعود حالنا حال الورد بلنا محتاجين نورك عجل الله بيتو أي جان جهان غصة دار بيكران ذكر لبها الأمان مهدي صاحب زمان كي شبد وقت ظهورك عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله. O great grandson of Nabi, we await you eagerly for the day that we will see Dhul Fiqar Haydari. When will we stop saying the word عجل الله? ये ज़मीं ये आसमां ये जो कायम है जहां ये जो चलती है हवा ये जो पानी है रवा तेरे सदक़े में ये कायम عجل الله عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله اے میرے پیارے امام तुम पे दुरूदो सलाम ए मेरे प्यारे इमाम तुम पे दुरूदो सलाम हाजिर है तेरे गुलाम लब पे बस ये है पयाम लब पे बस ये है पयाम जान ज़हरा गुल नरजिस عجل الله لو انفقرك ظهر اعداك اصلهم سكر لا تخليك الاثار بجيشهم المنتظر وفي بالحوم نذورك عجل الله عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله ظهورك عجل الله.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I counted 4 languages, am I right?
English, Arabic, Farsi, and Urdu.
Okay, good. I thought I missed one, but yeah, definitely. That's amazing. That's brilliant, actually. I can definitely see reciting in an Iraqi center now. Your Arabic is brilliant, mashallah. On that note, actually, how would you, in a nasheed perspective, how would you then implement clapping? And what's your views on that anyway? Whilst we're on that point.
Yeah, I remember you having some experience.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, you see, in the Khoja culture, we're not used to clapping, or at least the elder generation are not used to clapping. They see it as a very, I think, Western thing, and they feel that it's not ihtiram, it's not respectful to do it in a masjid, etc. Personally, I don't see any issue with it, and when we recite, especially in non-Khoja centers, we clap. And it's because clapping is not like the Iraqi latam beat, so it's much easier just to recite to it. And it really brings the vibe, and everyone gets excited, everyone gets into it, and it really brings that Mawlid feeling.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think, my experience was, although unfortunate, but an eye-opener. And I think it was a bit of ignorance on my side, not actually analyzing and understanding cultures before you go. And that's something that I think some of the viewers that could benefit from, in the sense that if you are going into different cultures or being asked to recite, to a culture that you're not very familiar with, it's really, really beneficial to ask questions and find out a bit more of that culture before you do recite. And by the way, I have no qualms with that, and I totally respect that certain cultures have their way of thinking, which is absolutely fine. I just feel like sometimes, you're right, with the clapping, if it's done in a nice way, because I can see why certain settings, clapping does maybe exceed certain boundaries, and I totally accept that. But I just feel like, especially when it comes to the youth, we have to provide something a bit more different and a bit more youthful for them to come to the audio, come into the mosques. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when it comes to what you said about, the next generation, how, recitations will change. And I think this is one thing which will definitely be introduced much more sooner than later.
Inshallah. So when it comes to the next generation, do you look at Western songs and being able, or using your expertise to produce a Western type of song, but in remembrance of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam?
I know some of the reciters who were with us in Voice of Passion, for example. They actually got vocalists to come in and train them on different tunes so that they could actually learn English tunes, not already made songs, but just the tunes of different English styles, so that the English words would actually fit to that. And of course, when that fit does happen, then that's what will probably be the most beautiful thing to listen to, because it's English, it's not Urdu. So at the end of the day, as much as you try, there's only so much you can fit the English words into an Urdu tune. There's only so much you can fit English into an Arabic tune. So I know people who have. Personally, I haven't. I will try and listen to maybe Farsi, Arabic, and Urdu, and try and fit my English into that. I've never actually looked into trying to fit into an English tune. I think, is that something you've done before?
I have. I have, yeah. So I've delved into a bit of Western style of delivery, you can call it. I think, let's just put it into perspective. It is songs, and I have tried to use that. The only reason I do is because if we are spreading the message of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, when we say spread, we're not preaching to the already preached to. Like, I'm not spreading isn't spreading the message to people that already know the message. Spreading is to people outside of that, right? And in order for me to be able to deliver a message to them, it has to be in a form that they can understand. They don't know Khoja style of Latum. They don't know Iraqi style of a nasheed. And that's not what they're accustomed to. But what they are accustomed to are songs. Okay, let's remove the instruments from them for a second, but at least the delivery they can relate to. And so what I and most other reciters, if they do want to delve into that world, is to say, well, look, number one, the youth, no matter how much we believe, but not a lot of them are interested in unfortunately, latmiyat and nasheeds and stuff. So that's why we have to make it different, and we have to change year on year so that we build or we come up with things that are relevant to the next generation. And that's why looking into I'm always interested to know from a reciter perspective who does English, how much are they willing to delve into that world to develop something maybe, or produce something?
Yeah, I think especially nowadays, I think that's really something which the new wave of reciters need to look into. And I think personally, if I had more time on my hands, I think I would, because it sounds more beautiful, and it's the only way to get the next generation and to keep this azah of Imam alive. Like, as Khojas, we've moved many countries from our generation. So from India, we've then moved to Africa, which now we've moved to the West, Toronto, UK, etc., etc. And every time, things have changed. So the same way that, for example, Farsi recitations were introduced in Zanzibar, and the Khojas got accustomed to that, and they still do that in Saf Matam. So similarly, now we're in the UK, times are changing, we need to also adapt. And I think the only way to make sure that people can get this in the best possible form is by, like you said, introducing these tunes, these Islamic songs, looking at the British and the Western philosophy of music and how to inculcate that in the right ways into our madhab.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just on a last note, do you have anything else to share in terms of poetry, Hajj Mohammed?
I can do.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a bit more, to be honest with you.
Urdu, Arabic?
Absolutely up to you.
Okay.
Whatever's closest.
Sure. So this is just a small poem in Urdu, and it's saying about how we are from Imam Hussein. I'm sure you've heard it. Hum Hussein wale hai.
Oh yes, I like this.
And if you have your English verses, then you can also help me out.
The good thing with the English is that I can literally bring up anything, and it kind of works with it for some reason. I'll give it a go. Yeah, I think I might give it a go. Yeah, I think I might do it actually. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the verses, I'll recite a couple. One of them, it says that Musa alayhi salam went to Tur, to the Mount Sinai, to increase himself and to elevate himself, and we do the same, but we go to Karbala because that's where we get our elevation from. We are from Rasulullah, we are from the lineage of Amir Mu'mineen, etc., etc. ये हमारी किस्मत है, हम हुसैन वाले हैं, हम हुसैन वाले हैं, हम हुसैन वाले हैं, हम नबी के आशिक हैं, हम अली के दीवाने, हम नबी के आशिक हैं, हम अली के दीवाने, और हसन से निस्बत है, हम हुसैन वाले हैं, हम हुसैन वाले हैं, हम हुसैन वाले. A message to each desire, love of Ali burns a fire. A message to each desire, love of Ali burns a fire. A blessing to his love attain. हम हुसैन वाले हैं, हम हुसैन वाले हैं.
You surprised me a bit with the pitch, so I had to kind of match that. But at the same time, I got my kids sleeping in the room.
Well, bring it down if you want.
No, they're fine. They're used to it by now, I think, because every night there's some sort of recitation going on. Please just carry on. I love it. Go on.
हम हुसैन वाले हैं और तूर तक गए मूसा और करबला तक हम, तूर तक गए मूसा और करबला तक हम, ये हमारी रफ़अत है, हम हुसैन वाले हैं.
Hussein's love the crown on each head. Every year his wounds we have read.
SubhanAllah.
Hussein's love the crown on each head. Every year his wounds we have read. Even greatest minds can't explain.
हम हुसैन वाले. MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Any other verse, please?
We can do.
Yeah.
हमसे फातिमा ज़हरा कर चुकी है एक वादा. We're saying that Sayyidah Fatima Zahra has taken one promise. हमसे फातिमा ज़हरा कर चुकी है एक वादा, अब हमारी जन्नत है. And of course, crying for Hassan Hussein means that, you know, we will enter Jannah inshallah before her.
Inshallah. Only love Ali the special, only lovers of Ali the special, a blessing on every level.
SubhanAllah.
Only lovers of Ali are special, a blessing on every level. We're with him till cut is the vein.
So you don't write these to the tune, is it just a general poem?
This is a general poem. Nur Sadar has a knack for writing poetry that the syllables just seem to work. Me and him have actually gone through back and forth quite a while over the last maybe 10 years. We've worked a lot on syllables because obviously for the Iraqi way, for the tune to work, the syllables have to match.
That's right.
And so he's taken special emphasis now with every single poem that he puts on his within his books, that they follow a certain syllables, so that if I wanted to recite it, I know from the first verse that the rest of the verses are all exactly the same.
Wow.
And then, subhanAllah, I was actually looking at a poem which literally says, "Live like Ali, die like Hussein." I had prepared for it, so and it just happened to fit. I think it happened to fit. But yeah, great.
Beautiful.
Hajj Muhammad, look, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. There's obviously a lot of wisdom that comes behind your recitations and your delivery. Is there any way we can look at your stuff in terms of albums or CDs or videos?
I think there's a few clips on YouTube, but I haven't really taken out any CDs or any specific things. Mainly just on YouTube though.
Okay, all right. But YouTube, inshallah, I'm gonna definitely look through more more of your stuff and see how it is. But yeah, as I mentioned, it's an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know it's quite late in the evening for the UK. But yeah, look, thank you so much, and inshallah, we'll definitely see you soon.
Thank you very much. It's been a great honor.
No problem. Thank you. So that was Brother Mohamed Datoo sharing his words of wisdom in relation to the recitations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam. From myself, as I mentioned, it was the penultimate episode. Tomorrow we'll have the last episode of Light Our Nights with myself, where we're looking to really understand more about what makes our reciters tick, what do they do to prepare, how do they review, so that you, the viewer, can take a bit of lessons in terms of practical steps and putting it into your own recitations as well. Okay, so tomorrow, inshallah, we have another session, 10:30 UK, only on Imam Hussein TV. From myself, have a great evening or a morning or an afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we're out. Thank you so much, bro. Really, really.
3, 2, 1.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. During this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan, we at Imam Hussein Development and Relief Foundation are looking to provide food baskets for 1,000 families living in poverty in and around the blessed city of Karbala. Each food basket contains a variety of essential food supplies that is sufficient to feed roughly a family of 4 for just about 10 days. By donating £20 per food basket, you can play a role in ensuring that nobody living in the city of Imam al-Hussein ever misses an iftar due to poverty. Contribute today and play a part through our website at www.ihdrf.org, or follow us for updates on this campaign for Shahr Ramadan through our social media. May our two masters, Imam al-Hussein and al-Abbas, reward each and every one of you abundantly during this blessed month of Shahr Ramadan as you work to elevate poverty from the great city of Karbala.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Hussein from London. We're very blessed to be in the holy land of Karbala. Please pray for us and pray for everyone who do wish to go.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. I want to pay my respects to Imam Hussein and Maula Abbas from my parents, and I would like you to recite salam and ziyarah for Imam Hussein and Maula Abbas on my behalf.
السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين وأولاد الحسين وأصحاب الحسين وأنصار الحسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا غازي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته
وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين.
خدا رحمت کنه همه گذشته ها رو. پدر ما رحمت الله علیه گفتن تو خونشون روزه بوده، یه وبایی اومده بوده که اون وقت گفتن بعدی که تموم شد معروف شد که 1/3 اهل شهر تو وبا مردن. حتی اون غسالی که غسل میداد